After you, Dan.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Another Bourbon Show. Tonight we got we're doing something we've never done on the show before. We are drinking Scotch on Another Bourbon Show tonight. We've drank Irish whiskey. We've drank rye. We've drank non-whiskeys like Screwball and Fireball. And
Winter Jack.
In Winter Jack. I was going to say, I knew there was a Jack product in there, but we have yet to have a whiskey lacking an E on the show. So tonight we're going to be drinking a Scotch whiskey that is provided by Ryan. We're drinking some Macallan 12-year double cask. So tell us all about the bottle there, Ryan. Proof and... Well, okay,
Yeah,
so let's put it this way. I haven't looked anything up, but I know for a fact it's 100% malted barley. I know that because it's Scotch, and it has to be 100% malted barley. But I don't know the proof. I know the age is 12, but what else can you tell us about it, Ryan?
It is 43% alcohol by volume. So 86 proof. From what we've been drinking lately, it's a little lighter in proof, but we've never done Scotch before. And personally, I don't drink Scotch. I don't drink a lot of Scotch ever. I know, Dan, it's a little more in your wheelhouse, but you drink a lot more bourbon than Scotch, I would say.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. But this is one of the staples. I know the world's most expensive bottle of whiskey to ever sell is a bottle of Macallan. So they're a very prestigious brand. And figure if we're going to do a Scotch, why not the Macallan?
Absolutely. I support that. It's a good Diageo brand right there.
It's not Diageo.
It's not?
No, it's Edrington is the name of the company. They're their own company.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was Diageo because Diageo owns so many Scotch products that I was like, it's got to be Diageo. I'm just going to go out on a limb here.
I know it's not that one that Nick Offerman loves. That I think he's one of the
Laphroaig.
Celebrity endorsed. Yeah, that's on Parks and Rec. But yeah, they're their own company, man.
Okay.
They also own Highland Park Scotch.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very good bottle of whiskey as well.
By the way, there's a famous YouTube video of a guy reviewing. I sent this to Dan when we were starting this podcast, but there's a famous YouTube video where there's a guy who reviews Scotch and he's drinking some Laphroaig, and like while he's doing the review for the Laphroaig, his wife is like leaving him in the background. It's not a joke. She's like, his ex-wife is like packing her things. They're separating, and he's just reviewing this.
He keeps going.
Yeah, it's very good. You should all look it up. But yeah.
Oh yeah. For road tar, it's really smooth. It's got that medicinal quality to it. Bye. It's got that medicinal quality to it.
Yeah, it legit is very good, and yeah, he just powers through it.
He's still making videos to this day, I believe. He's got a new wife. She does reviews with him. He's living his best life.
Does he acknowledge like his wife leaving?
I think at the beginning he explains what's happening, and he's like, "But we're just going to review some Scotch, or whatever." I can't remember exactly.
She probably hated his reviews. She's packing he does a review.
Ryan, put that bottle back up. Let's get a label rating on it.
Yeah, and a lot of times you don't see the naked bottle on the shelf. It's usually in one of these cases. So, but
I don't know what it is about Scotch and Irish whiskey, but they gotta have the box as well to be part of it, because the labels themselves pretty boring. It's usually a nice presentation, but they need something else, because this, to me, it looks nice, but it also looks like you can't afford it. It looks more unapproachable. It looks sort of like a funeral home, or a golf club, like a clubhouse at some prestigious course, maybe. It just looks a little more regal and unapproachable than I would like from what I'm drinking. You have to have a very particular look. You're not going to be wearing like a hoodie drinking it most of the time. I would say you're supposed to be a little bit higher class. To me, because of that, because of how simple it is, but while still looking nice, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 because I don't want to dock it and make it look ridiculous. I couldn't give it like a 4 or something like that. It's a very nice label, but again, it just looks like it's trying pretty hard, and yet at the same time, it's like, you know who we are kind of thing. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and it's just not my thing.
So a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, not much character to it, just a lot of forced class.
Yeah. Okay. Just as a comparison, I want to see your reaction to the closest bottle of Scotch I had available to me, which is this one. Okay. So this is Glenmorangie 18. What do you think of that?
Can you hold it up a little bit closer? I'll say I definitely like the font much better.
Okay.
It looks much more, I hate to use the word approachable again, but yeah, it looks inviting. It looks sort of intriguing. I want to know what that tastes like.
Okay.
I have a feeling that Macallan is just going to taste like I couldn't possibly appreciate it or something. Is the feeling that I get from looking at it. So the Glenmorangie, it looks good. It's a nice looking label, and I like that it's small too. There's something about its understated size. I would probably give that maybe a 6 or a 7, somewhere in there.
Okay. But now here's the funny part. So now I want to show you how you buy it, because of course, as you said, you don't just being a Scotch it's got to come in a box, right? Here's what it looks like on the shelf.
Yeah.
And it opens like,
Yeah, I mean,
like
Macallan box is not like that. It just
Right.
It's just cardboard. This is padded.
But of course, in both cases, you both kept that thing. You know, even Ryan, where you're like, it's just a foldable thing you could easily throw away. You still kept it, you know, because it looks much better on your shelf that way.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna bring that up until you said that part, and I was just like, oh, I gotta pull this one out.
Yeah.
All right. And I think a lot of what you said right there is indicative of Scotch as a whole. It really has that social distinction. There are some out there, I'm just going to say this. My very favorite Scotch whiskey is actually Dalwhinnie. It's a $70 bottle. It doesn't come it might come in a box now. I don't fucking know. Last time I bought it, it didn't. But it's an inexpensive Scotch, if you will. And and even it has that sense to it, that sense of class. Well, what do you say we have a sip of some high class Macallan 12-year double cask?
Let's do it.
the
Let's give it a
Macallan,
shot.
What's that?
the Macallan, dude.
The Macallan. I'm
Jesus
so sorry.
Christ, dude.
I'm so unrefined. I'm fucking swine. I know it.
I got
Out of
a new
your
glass.
brandy snifter.
You like that?
It's okay. You're new to drinking hard liquors, Dan. We're gonna take it easy on you.
My dumb ass went straight to drinking. Just down the hatch. I didn't even think about smelling it. It's been one of those days, okay?
Smells a little bit like weed. Mom, I don't know actually what that smells like. Some of my friends told me. Ryan told me.
Yeah, it's got a funk to it.
Well, I feel like all scotches are a little musty.
They are.
So I'm sitting in a
Always says
dusty
that.
old
You'll
box.
You'll eventually start drinking scotch. I haven't, and I don't think I ever will. Like outside of this,
It's not for everybody.
No.
It's not for. There's a lot of just a little bit ago, before I came on this, I was on a live and was mentioning that we were drinking scotch tonight, and somebody goes, "Oh, I can't stand the peated taste," and I'm like, "Well, fucking not all Scotch is peated, right? Like, you don't get that smoky flavor from every Scotch whiskey out there, and this is one of them. This isn't peated, I don't think.
You know what I'll say?
Hmm.
I'll say that I think to me, as somebody who likes bourbon a lot and whiskey, I think that the way I think Scotch fits into how I drink it is kind of like it's like wine to me. It's kind of like it is to bourbon what wine is to people who drink like maybe ciders and stuff like that typically or whatever. It's a departure that still feels familiar, and it's just like it's a way to go try out something else that's it really doesn't taste like anything you would typically drink, but there's enough characteristics there that it doesn't feel entirely alien either, if that makes any sense.
It does.
I think it's one of those things. I think it'd be pretty common to go into somebody's house that has a lot of bourbon, and you would also see that they maybe have a few scotches.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly my situation. I don't know that I've ever had more than 2 or 3 bottles of Scotch on my shelves at any given moment, but there's always some. Like, and it's not always Glenmorangie 18. Sometimes it's Dalwhinnie. Sometimes it's Glenrothes. Sometimes it's Ardbeg. Sometimes it's Balvenie. Just depends, right? Like, but yeah, there's a lot of diversity in Scotch. But yeah, it's got it's got a funk to it, like most Scotches do.
Yeah. Easier
But a
to drink.
sweetness.
I get a lot of that. Yeah, I know it's not the 12-year sherry cask, but definitely get that sherry, like when you drink it, almost that like cognac mouthfeel to it when you're drinking it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's dry. It's definitely dry. There was something on the nose. I can't put my finger on, like an old Kool-Aid. Like Kool-Aid that's been in your refrigerator longer than it should have. Like a grape Kool-Aid that's been in your refrigerator longer than it should have. I kind of get that from this.
It's like
on
a
the nose.
synthetic corn syrup fermentation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, it kind of sounds bad, but it's not intended to be bad.
I always get a little bit of, like, when people talk about peat, I always get a little bit from Scotch. Almost every Scotch I taste, and I think I've said this before on the show, but it's like juicy juice, like apple juicy juice.
Mm-hmm.
I always smell and taste it a little bit on the finish, or like a few seconds after, whatever you call that, like the mouth taste afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that too.
You guys remember Juicy Juice? Remember having Juicy
Mm-hmm.
Juice back in the day? There's like, I don't
Yeah.
know, it's insane to look at those boxes now, and you're just like, man, I feel like that was like a whole drink to me back in the day, but it's like literally 2 sips.
Yeah.
I know. I still buy the Capri Suns every once in a while to feel a little nostalgic. Yeah, and you finish them in 2 or 3 sips.
Or like the Kool-Aid Jammers. Those were like the what,
With the
wax?
twist tops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are like fucking 2 sips as well, and then you've got like the hardcore wax taste.
Yeah, we keep Capri Suns on hand, and I sneak one every now and then.
They're good.
They're still hard
You know
as
what-
shit to open. Like, to get
You
the
know what I
straw in
had?
there.
You know what I
I'm
had
not a
earlier
pro.
this week?
What?
Dunkaroos.
Really?
Yep.
Those are good.
Is that when
Yeah.
you were shitting yourself like crazy?
It was. I was just like, I'm gonna spoil myself. I know I'm gonna shit them out later. But I mean, that I don't usually like sweets, but that frosting, like anything that I usually keep some left over, and I just scoop the rest out with my finger.
Man, I love
Just eat it, the sprinkles in it. Oh,
I love
so good.
buttercream frosting. Buttercream frosting is so fucking good. And I feel like it's not like, I mean, it's very sweet, but I feel like it's not the same like sickening, like sugary sweet, since it's
Mhm.
so buttery.
I agree.
But man, is that shit terrible for you.
You know, one thing that we have not gone into on this show that really is a tragedy, and that is, Stephen, your truly, honest to God, remarkable abilities at spreading frosting on toaster strudels. Like,
I'm
I
good.
don't it's an art form for you. What's your technique?
I really think that one of the biggest parts, you have to have the exact right temperature for the frosting. So, like a lot of
Okay.
people, I think will tend to over warm it in their hands, or they'll put it on the toaster strudel fresh out of the toaster. And it's a combination of both those things, because the minute it hits the strudel, it's going to get like runny again. The idea is you don't want it too runny, because then it's not as malleable, you know,
Okay.
if it's just
Yeah, yeah.
liquid. So it has to have the exact right consistency. And then as long as you can guide it properly, I'll put up a picture of one of my toaster strudels
Yeah.
for the podcast, but so watch it on YouTube. But it's definitely I don't know, it's definitely a gift that I
Yeah.
have.
So what's your technique on tearing the pouch?
Oh,
Like,
you've got to to
do
me,
you cut or do you tear?
I usually just tear because I'm lazy, but
Okay.
cut will give you obviously more consistent. But either way, I think as long as you don't like completely fucking mangle it, you're able to more or less, you can handicap it as you need to, because you just pinch and like turn the. That's so funny that I'm talking about this. It just hit me what I'm talking about. But yeah, as long as you can just pipe it out, as long as you can manipulate the packet.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
I never
that's
liked
something.
those.
What?
I never really liked them.
Toaster strudels.
Yeah,
All right, I'm gonna mute him. I'm
the
gonna...
fruit one.
How did we
Did they
get this
ever
far without you muting Ryan before?
I mean, I only had them a couple times. Do they still make? They still make them?
Yeah.
Yeah, no fucking no. Pillsbury was like, nah. You know what? Fuck all that money we've been getting. It's probably one of Pillsbury's top sellers, I would have to think. Besides, like, I don't know. It may be their top seller. Period. Besides, what else would it be, like biscuits or something?
I don't
They
know.
make any? They make any good flavors now? They're all always disgusting ones.
What have you?
Like
What
with
have you
fruit,
had?
like with fruit in them. Didn't they make? Did they make
We know
ones
you
with
hate fruit.
chocolate? They ever make ones with chocolate in them?
Hey, this should make you feel better. It's not real fruit, right? Like...
They've got Ryan. They have one that's like Boston cream pie. That's basically like a donut you make in your toaster.
Try that one.
What the
The,
fuck? I don't like toaster strudels. Jesus.
Like a brown sugar one back in the day too, like a limited edition. I remember that one. Yeah, just I don't know, man.
Do you
I don't
like
like things
Pop-Tarts?
that like. Yeah, I like Pop Tarts, but I don't. Even with donuts too, like anything with like a jelly consistency inside, just always grossed me out.
Oh,
Like
I
I
see.
always hated Boston cream donuts, jelly donuts, just gross.
I see.
But I love like I remember my mom would buy them and I would just eat the top layer with the icing and
Did you
then
like
throw away the
Pop-Tarts?
rest of it. I did, yeah, but only cherry really.
So I've got Augie to where. So I love Pop-Tarts, and I never put them in the toaster. Like, that just
Neither do
ruins
I.
them in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the frosted chocolate Pop-Tarts, those are my number one, far and away, not even close. Augie too, and it's so nice because
Okay.
Augie picks out the Pop-Tarts, and Augie is a huge sharer. He loves sharing, and he's always like, "Well, I want to get the chocolate frosted ones for me and Daddy." That's right. We've talked about like breakfast pastries way more than we have what we're drinking right now. So I just want to go on record that I like this. I think it's good. I'm getting like, it's hard to pick up the like flavor notes, the flavor profiles that I'm getting. Like, I feel like it should taste like honey, but it doesn't.
Isn't there a birthday cake, Glenmorangie?
Glenmorangie, A Tale of Cake, limited edition Scotch whiskey. Some time ago, our director of whiskey creation, Dr. Bill, found himself musing over how some of his most joyful memories came from cake. From the pineapple upside-down cake his daughter made for his birthday to baking with his granny in her kitchen. He devised this whiskey to conjure the magic of a cake moment, finishing his favorite Glenmorangie single malt in the finest Tokaji dessert wine casks. So it's just finished in a decadent wine cask.
Dude sounds like a creep. Dr. Bill?
Dr. Bill?
You know who else went by Dr. Bill? Dr. Bill Cosby. Time for a name change.
Actually, he went by Dr. Huxtable, actually. Fuck.
Well, he was actually Dr. Cosby. Dr. Bill Cosby, too.
Yeah, but haven't they taken that from him now? Because that was like an honorary doctorate, right?
No, he was a doctorate of education, I thought.
Oh.
I thought he had a...
Can you guys do a Bill Cosby impression?
Oh, I got a pretty good one.
Do you?
You put the jello with the pudding pops and you slip on the pill to get the pill.
I still have no idea what I'm going to rate it.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, because it's time now.
Yeah, it's time.
So I'm not going first.
And Ryan, you're first.
Nope.
I'll go first. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna write down mine first. I just want to write it down. I'm gonna write it on this unpaid bill that will remain unpaid.
I am gonna be giving this a 6.9 with a little hat tip to Dan's dad, because I think it'd be funny on the Scotch episode to do 69 for my rating. I think it's good, but there's still plenty of notes to it and overall characteristics that I don't care as much for. Like I said, though, it's nice to have changes of pace on your shelf. And I think that if you're looking for something like that, I think that this is a good option. And I don't think the price is insane. So I think that it's a pretty good value as well, for what you're getting here. It's, like Dan said, there's a sweetness to it. It's not just this muskiness that you would otherwise get. At the same time, I can see it being sort of it is a drier, more sort of, just different taste. I don't even know how to say it, but it's something that you don't typically get with bourbon and whiskey. It's a good change of pace. And if you're having a more formal kind of thing, and you're going to have, I think this would pair well with a lot of different like cheeses and stuff like that, just like wine would. So again, it can be a wine for somebody who doesn't really like wine and wants something closer to whiskey. If you're in that market, I think it's above average.
I think that's a good rating. And you are only 0.4 off of where I had it, which is 7.3. So for much of the same reason. I think that if I was basing it strictly off of the flavors and the tastes that I get, it would actually be a little bit higher. 7.5, 7.6, somewhere in there. It's got a lot of really appealing flavors to it. It's got enough of a sweetness to it. It's got enough of a complexity to it that keeps you interested. I can absolutely grab some raisin flavors out of it. I can absolutely get, like I said, maybe a honeydew type of a sweetness to it. I definitely get some citrus to it. It's interesting. It's complex. It tastes really good, in my opinion. I'm docking it a little bit because it makes my mouth feel dirty. It's dry to the point where after I've drank it, my tongue and my mouth just literally feels actually dirty. And I don't like that. If it wasn't for that, it would be higher. So I had to dock it a little bit, but I think you're exactly right, Stephen, as far as like mixing it up a little bit. I think that just by it being Scotch, it draws some attention to itself. It adds some sophistication, even though it shouldn't necessarily, it just inherently does. So have it on your shelf and make yourself seem more interesting than you actually are. So there you go.
Well, I'm
7-3.
glad we could be interesting tonight because I mean, I've had this on my shelf for a little while now, and I guess we'll drink on the podcast. I don't know when I'll drink it because I like bourbon, but I do agree with both of you guys. There's like once you get over that musty smell, there is like sweetness, like Dan said, honeydew. I kind of get like a drawn out, like buttery type taste overall, but it does dry your mouth out significantly. It like your tongue almost curls. You need water after you drink it. I don't know if
Yep.
it necessarily my mouth feels dirty. It's a very, very dry whiskey. And that doesn't take away from the notes or anything like that. I do feel like if I were to drink this, maybe showing off a little bit with some of your smarter friends, which it's not the three of us. So if I have any friends smarter than me, maybe I'll pull this out. But I think all my friends are idiots.
I assure
So
you have no friends smarter than Stephen or I.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to pull this out with you guys. I'll go right on the nose 7.0. I still like it. Like the sweetness of, I like cognac, especially after dinner. I feel like this is a great after dinner dessert type drink just because of that sweetness, which I don't feel like I've gotten with a lot of scotches before. Usually it's that, that burnt taste just overpowers anything else. So it's a nice change of pace for a scotch. So I'll go 7.0.
Another bourbon show. Another bourbon show. Another bourbon show.
Stephen,
Yeah.
you ready?
Yeah,
Hey,
sorry,
do you want
I
me to-
dozed off for a second.
Get yourself excited, man.
You want me to hold this up? You want me to hold both up?
Whatever you want, dude.
Yeah. All right.